I can't believe it. I'm watching videos of Americans finally realizing they've been heavily brainwashed by their own government saying that China is bad after being on Rednote for just a couple of days.
I'm seeing all over my FYP a bunch of disgruntled Americans regarding how America seems more like a third world country and everything that they learned and knew about China is just not true. So if you're mad about the groceries and that they don't have to pay property tax after they pay off their mortgage, let me tell you that they have better work-life balance than we do.
I don't trust most Americans' opinion on China. I lived in China for 3.5 years, and I can tell you the news does not paint the full picture of China. It shocked me how advanced China really is.
The United States spends almost $1 trillion every year on war making. But do you know what the budget of the United Nations is? United Nations is supposed to be an institution, a global institution to build peace. The United Nations annual budget, my friends, is $3 billion. $3 billion to build peace, $1 trillion just by the United States to produce war. You can't eat in this country. You can't find a house to live in this country. You can't go to school and study without going to debt in this country. But you can bomb any country in the world. The greatest country in the world is the greatest country, not because there's no hunger in it, but because you can destroy any other country in the world.
Hey besties. Welcome back to another deep dive into a topic that might just change the way you see the world. Today, we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, how Americans are completely brainwashed when it comes to China. Yep, I said it. The US media has spent decades feeding people a very specific narrative about China, one that paints it as this dystopian, oppressive, and underdeveloped country, when in reality, China is way more advanced than America in so many ways. And get this, some Americans are just now figuring that out.
I don't trust most Americans' opinion on China. I lived in China for 3.5 years, and I can tell you the news does not paint the full picture of China. It shocked me how advanced China really is. They use mobile payments for everything. WeChat Pay, Alipay. People don't pull out credit cards any longer over there. They have high-speed rails that go just about everywhere. In Shanghai, over the past 30 years, has developed from being a countryside to being a full, blown-out city. We don't talk about this. Also, Americans don't understand how complex China's history is. There are 1.5 billion people in China, and they have a history that spans thousands of years. You can imagine having that level of history. Why they operate the way they do and react to things now is probably due to what happened in the past. For example, so many Americans ask me, why is China so strict on drugs? We're not like that in the US. Well, China had the first and second opium wars where Westerners brought opium and it completely trashed their economy. So looking at this history, we can see why China has such a strong stance on having drugs in the country. They don't want an inefficient population. And the way I think is we oftentimes ask, like, why is technology, like, why are our products not allowed to go into China? If I'm looking at history and I'm seeing all the different ways that Westerners have come over and completely China's economy, I'm like, if I'm trying to build up a city of a country of 1.5 billion people, most of which are in rural populations, how are you going to have American technology come over and completely overtake their country? My whole thing is when we look at China, we have to understand the full picture. It can't be a comparative game with what does the US do and oh, China should do the same thing. We are very different countries. We have very different histories, and we have to understand that when we go to make a perspective, which is why
I can't believe it. I'm watching videos of Americans finally realizing they've been heavily brainwashed by their own government saying that China is bad after being on Rednote for just a couple of days. Now, I've already seen some content from there that's been shared on this platform, and I'm going to tell you, they're pretty spot on. I mean, they have developed a lot in the past 40 years. Just Western propaganda just makes them sound evil. But if you were to ask any genuine Chinese person about how their country is, they'll tell you, honestly. And yet, the US are dumb enough to believe what their government tells them. Wow. Utterly shocking.
From the time we're young, Americans are taught that the US is the greatest country in the world. It's the land of the free, the home of the brave, and the pinnacle of democracy. Meanwhile, China is depicted as a place where people have no freedoms, the government controls everything, and life is miserable. But if you actually look beyond the propaganda, you'll see a different reality. One where China is outpacing the US in technology, infrastructure, and even safety. Turn on any major US news network, and you'll hear the same anti-China rhetoric. It's almost like they copy and paste the same talking points. China is a threat. China is stealing technology. China is spying on us. The media doesn't tell you about China's booming economy, its advancements in AI, high-speed rail, smart cities, and even its ability to completely eliminate extreme poverty. Why? Because if Americans knew how well China is doing, they'd start questioning why their own country is falling behind.
I just watched a video of an American person in tears because they found out that Chinese people have public toilets. Oh great, now I can't open my eyes. And they're also really surprised about how am I meant to do this? And they're also really surprised to learn that Chinese people don't pay for ambulances either. I saw a video a minute ago of a woman being like, when they get an ambulance, it's free! On Rednote, people in China think that it's propaganda that people actually have to pay for ambulances. And Americans are shocked about it. Firstly, I'm confused because everyone's been saying this to Americans, like, we don't pay for healthcare either. But anyway, it makes you wonder, what the hell have they been learning about China? Like, I don't know that much about China at all, but like, I would never have thought that China doesn't have public toilets. Like, they're pretty high tech as far as I'm aware. I've been seeing videos about how they got like touchscreen things in their toilets. And I'm not surprised about that. But there's a video of an American woman in tears to learn that. Like, what have they been learning over there about China?
It's kind of interesting seeing what's happening out of China and how it's threatening the US and their world supremacy. So yeah, first there was TikTok, and now this week DeepSeek, and they've just announced plans for a orbiting solar power station, which will provide as much energy in 1 year as what there is oil on Earth. And yeah, like, we're going to be waiting a long time for the US to pitch in and show any initiative with the climate crisis. So clearly China's leading the way in lots of ways.
Let's talk about technology. China is home to the most advanced AI systems, 5G networks, and e-commerce platforms. While Americans are still using outdated public transportation, China has high-speed trains that make travel effortless. While the US struggles with an outdated healthcare system, China is leading the way in medical advancements and affordability. And let's not forget China's electric vehicle industry, which is light years ahead of America's. If you compare New York's crumbling subway system to Shanghai's ultra-modern metro, you'll see just how far behind America is. China has entire smart cities powered by AI, facial recognition, and automation. The level of efficiency in Chinese cities is unmatched. Meanwhile, in the US, potholes go unrepaired for years. Public transportation is unreliable, and even major airports feel outdated compared to China's sleek, futuristic hubs.
Since we've migrated over to Rednote, we've learned so many amazing things about China. The food quality, the advanced technology, even the fact that they don't pay any taxes. Like, what? What are we doing over here, you guys? Let me show you a few clips of what I'm talking about.
Not only do their fresh fruit stores have an exotic variety of fruits, they offer free services to wash, cut, and package your fruit to go.
Even their fruit looks more vibrant than ours does. And the fact that they don't charge them to cut it up and package it, that's for free. Check out this next clip about the taxes.
No property tax in China.
I own this apartment. I don't need to pay every year for the tax. Even though one day I don't work, I don't have income, I'm still able to live here till the day I die.
Yeah, I know. I'm still not done. Check out this next clip.
We're in China, and this is how advanced cashless payment is in this country. Right, so now I'm going to pay for it. I've left my phone and my card at home. I've actually got nothing. Hey! Can't pay.
Let me get this straight. Better food quality, no taxes, and far advanced technology than ours. Like, what are we missing? What are we doing here, you guys? Like, should we pack our bags now, or? Let me know in the comments. Would you make the move, or do you think there's more that we need to learn first? There has to be some bad things that we have not discussed, or that they're not telling us. I don't know. Let me know, guys.
3 things that have surprised me about China. 1, it is so safe. I never have to lock my bicycle, and I can walk home at night at like 1, 2 in the morning. Doesn't matter. Never have to turn my back or feel unsafe. 2, it's so clean. So clean. And 3, I have yet to see a homeless person. I've been here 7 months and I have not seen a homeless person. And let's just add a 4th bonus. I never hear any police sirens.
The videos of the Chinese kindergartners being absolutely elite at everything that they do, they occupy 90% of my brain power right now. In kindergarten, they just hand them a basketball and they say, time to work on your handles. Look at this. We have a generation full of iPad kids, and this is what they're doing. They're just elite at everything they do. They're more advanced than probably 8th graders now in America. These are all our, look at this, look what they're doing. These are all our future bosses. This isn't like, look, they even know how to cook. This isn't like, oh, we went down the local gymnastics and these are the top of the top. No, this is just like, recess. Time to work on your cooking skills and how to be the absolute greatest. Look at this. They just give them basketballs. I need to know more, and I'm going to find out more. I know a lot about Japanese baseball culture. It's crazy, but I need to know more. This is unbelievable. Can you imagine trying this in American public school? I'm serious. Can you imagine it? One of the kids would start crying. The other would be like, why is my basketball not inflated like the other basketball? Then the other one would call their parents. We're doomed. We're doomed.
Another huge misconception Americans have is that China is an unsafe place. In reality, China has one of the lowest crime rates in the world. People can walk around at night without fear. Compare that to major US cities, where crime rates are skyrocketing, mass shootings are a regular occurrence, and basic safety is a constant concern. In China, surveillance and strict laws contribute to a level of public safety that America simply can't match. Thanks to social media and independent content creators, more Americans are starting to see the reality of life in China. People who travel there post videos showing clean streets, advanced technology, and a society that, in many ways, functions better than America. And for those who have been brainwashed by years of propaganda, it's a shocking revelation.
The United States spends almost $1 trillion every year on war making. But do you know what the budget of the United Nations is? United Nations is supposed to be an institution, a global institution to build peace. The United Nations annual budget, my friends, is $3 billion. $3 billion to build peace, $1 trillion just by the United States to produce war. You can't eat in this country. You can't find a house to live in this country. You can't go to school and study without going to debt in this country. But you can bomb any country in the world. The greatest country in the world is the greatest country, not because there's no hunger in it, but because you can destroy any other country in the world. Those are your values. The values of a country are not to be measured by its constitution. The values of a country are to be measured by its budget. And the United States spends half its budget trying to destroy the world and then wags the finger and talks about democracy. Do you see how strange this looks from outside the United States? People look at this and think, who is this guy Biden? This is crazy. He's mediocre. He's wagging his finger. He's telling us about democracy. And right outside my window is a warship that's ready to destroy my family. It's bizarre. You see, we don't want to deal with humanity as a security problem, as a problem that requires war, as a problem that requires policing. There are real dilemmas of humanity. Those dilemmas of humanity need to be transcended with a politics of love. These mediocre imperialists fear love. They promote hate. They promote hatred. They don't understand love. They don't understand compassion. They don't know what it means to stay awake every night trying to make sure everybody's got something to eat. They don't understand that. We go to the people and say, this is what we want to do. We want to build with love.
I'm seeing all over my FYP a bunch of disgruntled Americans regarding how America seems more like a third world country and everything that they learned and knew about China is just not true. So if you're mad about the groceries and that they don't have to pay property tax after they pay off their mortgage, let me tell you that they have better work-life balance than we do. So during my doctorate studies at Johns Hopkins, I was sent over to China to do research with the Center of Disease Control. They do have a CDC as well. There's none of this like really super calculated, hey, you take 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch if you work 40 hours, but if you work under 20 hours, you don't get a break except for one 15-minute break. Like, it's just like weird policies that we have in America. No, they have like a lot of freedom to leave work, go get a boba, go get an ice cream, come back. They actually support you taking naps. Like at the CDC, they used to have these like beds for you to go and take a nap if maybe you live too far from work. Otherwise, most people go home during lunch because their lunch hour was like 2 hours. 2 hours was their lunch break. Not to mention the majority of the time we were always leaving to like do PR and like relationships. So social networking is a huge thing over there. Whereas in America, everybody's isolated. You don't even know who your neighbors are, right? Like you just go straight to your house when you come home from work. But not there, not there. I remember like we would meet other government officials during lunch and then they'll gift us like big boxes of grapes and of course alcohol. And then their alcohol is like 40% alcohol. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get drunk and throw up. But we were drinking like during the day. Like it was like day drinking, like daytime drinking. And it was because we were social networking with like these people, right? And this was okay. This was almost applauded. And there's always something to do after work. So you don't just go home and pass out and like, I don't know what else we do. Like it's so toxic in America, but there's always something. So I just remember like flying LED kites, like during the summer, going to the river. There's always like an activity. And that's also why they're so slim and they're so much more healthy because you easily you don't just walk 5 miles, the 10,000 steps that is recommended. Like you walk like 10 miles a day. It's like just so easy to do. But yeah, they have better work-life balance and that whole they're them passing out at their desk, working 120 hours. No, bitch. They ain't working 120 hours. I was like given so much liberty and freedom when I was like, and I had my own executive room, which was crazy. They're so polite. They're like, oh, American foreigner, like, let's put her in an executive, room. It was so chill. Like, the majority of us were always, I think, they were even playing video games during work hours. But, I mean, they do work, okay? I want you to think they do work. They get stuff done. But there's just so much liberty. There's none of this, toxic clock in and clock out and this snitch Nancy that's watching you and your every move just so she could report you to HR. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that shit.
This is quite funny. I enjoyed this. It cheered me up. Now, you've probably heard that the American government are trying to ban TikTok. They say it's a threat to national security, that the Chinese government can get hold of all this American data and do nefarious data stuff with it. And the American people have responded in the best way possible by doing what I would call a mass collective trolling of the American government. Large numbers of them have signed up to an app called Rednote, which is a Chinese app, and I must say it's quite left-wing there. And this is hilarious for two reasons. The first reason is you've got the American government saying, we don't trust TikTok and China with all of your data, and the American people have turned around and said, yep, okay, that's fine. We'll just give all our data to another Chinese app. And it's also funny because Rednote can probably radicalize Americans far quicker than TikTok ever could. I mean, I joined Rednote yesterday, and I must say, I've never seen such a high concentration of communist memes per user anywhere else on the internet. But my God, was I not disappointed by my time on Rednote yesterday. You see, the really funny thing about what's going on at Rednote is that the Chinese have unwittingly become an agony aunt for Americans to vent their frustration about the absolute shit show that is American capitalism at the moment. You've basically got Americans asking questions like, well, what's life like in China? What's the housing like? What's the infrastructure like? What's your healthcare like? And the Chinese are saying, yeah, it's pretty good. We've got bullet trains that go 250 miles per hour. We've got universal healthcare, virtually like no homeless people. And the Americans are like, I have to remortgage my house to get an ambulance. And then you've got Americans, I'm in America, I want to leave America, where's nice in China? And the Chinese are responding with recommendations. You've got Americans learning Chinese. You've got them joking with each other about how best to go about a revolution in America. I mean, this is funny. This is funny. You've got Americans basically going, get me to save us. So the Chinese are responding by saying, it's okay, we'll take good care of you if you ever come here. It's nice on one hand, but it's also very funny, and I think it's going to freak the fuck out of the American government. There is going to be a response because of this. They're probably figuring out what to do about it at the moment. One sensible response could be to just not ban TikTok, because if they ban TikTok, more people will go to Rednote, and if that happens, they'll have to remove access to Rednote for the same reasons, right? But then if they do that, the American people, determined as they are to troll their own government, will probably find another Chinese app to join, maybe WeChat. I did see one person in the comments section who said if they remove access to all apps Chinese, I'll just print off my browser history every night and drop it round to the Chinese embassy. It's funny, and it's some, top drawer trolling from the American people, I must say. But, if the Americans do move ahead by banning TikTok, and then eventually they have to do something about removing access from something like Rednote, it's going to lay bare to Americans, I think, that they never really could fully enjoy their First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And it's always been that way, if you go back to like McCarthyism, if you had a platform and you were just a bit left-wing, the American government could treat you appallingly if they got just a whiff of commie off you. And the problem the American government has today is potentially everyone has a platform because of the internet. And American people can now access a wide range of voices and get exposure to a wide range of ideas about how you should run things. And many of them, increasing numbers of them, are waking up to the fact that American capitalism isn't really working for them, and perhaps there's a better way to do things. And it should disturb the American government that there is, I would say, a material amount of Americans who are looking at communist China and going, doesn't look that bad. Might give it a go. Now, my 2 pence is, you don't have to be America or communist China. There are alternatives available. But it's been thoroughly entertaining so far. I'm going to enjoy watching it all unfold. And if you're one of those Americans that have been trolling the American government, keep up the good work. It's been very enjoyable and entertaining for me.
At the end of the day, the US media pushes an anti-China narrative because it's afraid. Afraid that Americans will wake up and realize that their country isn't the superpower it once was. Afraid that they'll start demanding better infrastructure, better healthcare, and better public safety. Afraid that the American dream is no longer what it used to be. So, besties, if there's one thing to take away from today's discussion, it's this: question everything. Don't believe the hype. Travel, research, and see the world for yourself. Because the more you dig, the more you'll realize that America isn't the center of the universe, and China is a lot more advanced than you've been led to believe. Adios, besties.